She meant to text her ex while drunk. But a billionaire got the message instead. Asterisk, when everything falls apart. Natalie Rivers had always believed in fairy tales. Even at working as a barista at the trendy coffee shop downtown, she dreamed of opening her own bakery someday. Life seemed perfectly planned with her boyfriend of 2 years, Tyler Matthews. He was everything she thought she wanted, charming, funny, and they shared the same circle of friends. Tonight was supposed to be special. Tyler had promised to take her somewhere important after his work meeting. The anniversary. That never came, dressed in her favorite burgundy dress and the pearl earrings her grandmother had given her. Natalie waited at their usual spot in Central Park. 2 hours passed. No call, no text, no Tyler. Her best friend Zoe had warned her about his recent distant behavior, but Natalie had brushed it off. Love was supposed to conquer everything, right? When Tyler finally called at midnight, his words cut through her heart like glass. I need space, Nat. This isn't working anymore. I've been seeing someone else. The night everything changed back in her small apartment, Natalie stared at the anniversary cake she had secretly ordered from Tyler's favorite bakery. The irony wasn't lost on her. Zoe arrived with a bottle of wine and tissues. But tonight Natalie didn't want comfort. She wanted to feel angry, to feel something other than the crushing emptiness in her chest. As the wine flowed, so did her tears, then her rage. 2 years of my life wasted on that lying, cheating bastard. She slurred to Zoe, the message that changed everything through her wine-hazed vision. Natalie grabbed her phone. Her fingers moved across the screen, typing message after message to Tyler. Words of hurt, betrayal, and raw emotion poured out. She told him exactly what she thought of his betrayal. How he had destroyed her trust. How she wished she had never met him. Message after message, each one more brutal than the last. In her drunken state, she didn't notice the autocorrect had changed Tyler's name in her contacts. Instead of Tyler don't answer, her phone now read Theodore business contact. Morning after reality, sunlight streaming through her curtains felt like daggers to Natalie's throbbing head. Empty wine bottles and tissues scattered across her coffee table told the story of her breakdown. Her phone buzzed insistently. 17 missed calls from an unknown number. As she scrolled through her sent messages, her blood turned cold. Every single hate-filled message had gone to the wrong number.
Ow!
Not Tyler's number, but someone named Theodore Blackstone. Her hands shook as she read his response. Miss Rivers, I don't appreciate receiving 43 abusive messages at 3 in the morning. We need to talk. My office today at 2 p.m. Don't ignore this. Who is Theodore Blackstone? Panic set in as Natalie Googled the name. Theodore Blackstone, CEO of Blackstone Industries, one of the city's most powerful real estate development companies. Net worth, $2.3 billion, age 32. The photo showed a devastatingly handsome man with dark hair and intense green eyes that seemed to look right through the camera. This wasn't just any random person. This was a man who could destroy her life with a single phone call. Her small apartment, her job. Her entire existence suddenly felt incredibly fragile. The impossible choice, Zoe, rushed over after Natalie's frantic phone call. You have to go, she insisted, pacing the small living room. If you don't show up, it'll be worse. Maybe he just wants an apology, but Natalie knew it wouldn't be that simple, and like Theodore Blackstone didn't arrange meetings for apologies. They arranged meetings to make problems disappear. As she stood in front of her closet, choosing what might be her last outfit as a free woman, Natalie couldn't shake the feeling that her life was about to change forever. Little did she know, Theodore Blackstone was about to become the most important person in her world. And not for the reasons she feared. Facing the dragon in his den, the Blackstone Industries. Building towered 47 stories above downtown, its glass facade reflecting the clouds like a mirror to heaven. Natalie stood on the sidewalk, neck craned back, feeling smaller than an ant. Her best black blazer and pencil skirt, borrowed from Zoe, felt like armor that wouldn't protect her from what waited inside. The lobby was all marble and gold, with security guards who looked like they could bench press her car. When she gave her name to the receptionist, the woman's eyebrows shot up in recognition. The longest elevator ride floor numbers climbed higher and higher as Natalie's stomach dropped. Lower and lower. 47 floors gave her plenty of time to imagine. Worst-case scenarios? Lawsuit? Public humiliation? Bankruptcy? Maybe even jail time for harassment. She rehearsed apologies in her head, but they all sounded pathetic. The elevator dinged. Softly and pristine chrome doors opened to reveal an executive floor that screamed wealth and power. Persian rugs, original artwork, and floor-to-ceiling windows offering a view that made the city look like a toy set below. First impressions, Theodore. Blackstone's office was larger than her entire apartment. Behind a desk that probably cost more than her yearly salary sat the man himself, and the photos online hadn't done him justice. Tall, broad-shouldered, with perfectly styled dark hair, and those piercing green eyes that seemed to catalog every detail about her. He didn't stand when she entered, didn't smile, just gestured to the chair across from his desk with the kind of authority that made people jump to obey. "Miss Rivers, you're exactly on time. I appreciate punctuality. The unexpected proposition. I'm so sorry, Mr. Blackstone," Natalie began. But he held up a hand that silenced her immediately. "I don't want your apology. I want to offer you a job." The words hit her like a physical blow. A job. She blinked, certain she'd misheard. "I beg your pardon?" Theodore leaned back in his leather chair, studying her with those calculating eyes. "My assistant quit yesterday. Her replacement doesn't start for 6 weeks. I need someone temporary. Someone who clearly isn't intimidated by me since you felt comfortable sending me 43 messages detailing exactly what you think of men like me. The terms of engagement, the pay is 4 times what you make at that coffee shop," Theodore continued, naming a figure that made Natalie's eyes widen. 6 weeks, maybe less. You'll manage my calendar, screen my calls, handle correspondence. Standard. Assistant duties. Natalie's mind raced. The money would cover her rent for 6 months, maybe enough to finally start her bakery fund. But working for him? Why me? Surely you have a staffing agency for this sort of thing. Theodore's lips curved in what might have been a smile. "Let's just say I'm curious about the woman brave enough to tell a complete stranger. He's a soulless corporate monster who probably kicks puppies for fun." "The test, there's a condition," Theodore said, standing and walking to the window. From behind, he commanded attention. "Tonight is the Metropolitan Museum Gala. The city's elite will be there, including several potential business partners and my ex-fiancée. I need someone to accompany me, someone who won't be impressed by the money or intimidated by the crowd." He turned back to face her. "Consider it your interview. You can handle one evening in my world without falling apart. The job is yours." Natalie's mouth went dry. A gala with billionaires and socialites? She'd never been anywhere fancier than Olive Garden. "The transformation begins? I don't have anything appropriate to wear," Natalie stammered. Theodore's assistant, his temporary replacement, she realized, appeared as if summoned. "Victoria will take you shopping. Hair, makeup, dress, shoes, the works, all covered naturally." The woman smiled warmly at Natalie, a stark contrast to Theodore's cool professionalism. "Don't worry, dear. We'll have you looking like you belong in their world." As Victoria guided her toward the elevator, Natalie caught Theodore watching her with an unreadable expression. Was that interest in his eyes, or was she imagining things? Second thoughts and preparation. 3 hours later, Natalie barely recognized herself in the boutique's 3-way mirror. The midnight blue gown hugged her curves perfectly, and the stylist had worked magic with her usually unruly brown hair. But beneath the gorgeous exterior, she was still the same girl who served lattes and dreamed of owning a bakery. What was she doing? This wasn't her world. These weren't her people. Her phone buzzed with a text from Theodore. "Car picks you up at 7. Don't overthink it. You're stronger than you know." How could he possibly know what she was thinking? As evening approached, Natalie stood in her apartment. Transformed but terrified, about to enter a world where one wrong move could change everything. She had no idea that Theodore Blackstone was about to discover that sometimes the most unexpected people become exactly what you never knew you needed. Entering the Lion's Den, the black Mercedes that picked up Natalie was longer than some people's living rooms. She pressed her palms against the cool leather seats to stop them from shaking. The dress that had felt perfect in the boutique now felt like a costume. Through the tinted windows, she watched normal people walking normal lives, and she wondered if she'd ever be normal again after tonight. When the car pulled up to the museum, photographers lined the red carpet like vultures waiting for prey. The grand entrance Theodore was waiting at the museum steps, devastating in a perfectly tailored black tuxedo. When he saw her emerge from the car, something flickered across his face. Surprise. Maybe even appreciation. He offered his arm with the same commanding presence she'd witnessed in his office. "Remember," he murmured as they approached the entrance, "you belong here as much as anyone else. Confidence is the only currency that matters in this room." Flashbulbs exploded around them as society photographers captured what they assumed was Theodore, Blackstone's latest conquest. Swimming with sharks inside, the museum had been transformed into a glittering wonderland. Crystal chandeliers cast dancing light across marble floors, and women dripped in diamonds that probably cost more than most people's houses. Natalie felt like Alice tumbling down the rabbit hole into a world of impossible wealth and beauty. Theodore introduced her simply as Natalie to a parade of faces that blurred together: oil heiresses, tech moguls, politicians, and celebrities she recognized from magazine covers. To her surprise, he never left her side, always keeping a protective hand at the small of her back. "Meeting the ex-Theodore, darling?" The voice cut through the elegant chatter like a knife through silk. Vivian Ashworth approached them, resplendent, in a gold gown that probably cost more than Natalie's car. Tall, blonde, and surgically perfect. She was everything Natalie wasn't. "I heard you were bringing someone tonight. How? ... Unexpected. Her ice-blue eyes swept over Natalie with barely concealed disdain. Theodore's hand tightened almost imperceptibly. On Natalie's back? "Vivian, you look well." "Natalie, this is Vivian Ashworth." "Vivian, Natalie Rivers." The tension between the two was palpable. It's like electricity before a storm. Standing her ground. "So tell me, Natalie," Vivian purred. "What do you do? Besides the obvious, of course." The insult hung in the air like poison gas. Natalie felt every eye in their small circle turn to her, waiting to see if she would crumble. Instead, she smiled sweetly. "I'm in the hospitality industry. Make sure people get exactly what they need to start their day right." It's amazing how much you can learn about someone from their coffee order. Theodore's lips quirked upward slightly. Vivian's perfect smile faltered for just a moment before she recovered. How ... quaint. The dance. When the orchestra began playing, Theodore surprised Natalie by leading her onto the dance floor. His hand was warm and steady at her waist as they moved to the music. "You handled Vivian well," he said quietly. "She's used to intimidating people." Natalie looked up into his green eyes, seeing something softer there than she'd expected. "Why did you really invite me tonight? It wasn't just for the job interview, was it?" Theodore was quiet for a long moment. "Vivian left me because she said I was too cold, too focused on business. She wanted someone who could make her feel alive. Tonight, watching you stand up to her, I remembered what that feels like." Unexpected revelations. As the evening progressed, Natalie began to see past Theodore's intimidating exterior. He donated anonymously to children's charities, he remembered. The names of every museum staff member they encountered. When an elderly gentleman spilled wine on his jacket, Theodore helped him clean up without a second thought, never mentioning that the jacket probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. "You're not what I expected," Natalie admitted as they stood on a balcony overlooking the city. "And what did you expect?" he asked. "A monster," she said honestly. Theodore laughed, a real laugh that transformed his entire face. Maybe I was until tonight." The moment everything changed as the gala wound down, Theodore walked Natalie to the waiting car. The night air was cool against her skin, and she realized she didn't want the evening to end. "The job is yours if you want it," he said quietly. "But I hope you know this was never really about the job." Before she could respond, he leaned down and pressed his lips to hers in a kiss that was gentle but electrifying. When they broke apart, Natalie felt like the world had shifted on its axis. "I'll see you Monday morning, Miss Rivers," he said with a smile that made her heart race. As the car pulled away, Natalie touched her lips and realized that somewhere, between the angry text messages and the museum gala, her life had become something she never could have imagined. The new reality Monday morning arrived with the weight of a changed world. Natalie stood outside the Blackstone Industries building, no longer the desperate woman who had stumbled into Theodore's office seeking forgiveness. Today she was his assistant, though the memory of their kiss still burned on her lips like a sweet secret. Victoria greeted her warmly and showed her to a desk positioned strategically outside Theodore's office. He likes his coffee black, no sugar.
Yes.
Meetings start. Exactly on time, never a minute late. And whatever you do, don't let his mother through without warning him first. Victoria whispered conspiratorially, learning the game Theodore's world operated on rules Natalie had never encountered. Every phone call was strategic. Every meeting calculated, every decision worth millions. She watched him command boardrooms full of powerful men twice his age. His voice never raised but always obeyed. When he spoke to her, though, his tone softened almost imperceptibly. "How are you settling in?" he asked during a rare, quiet moment. "It's like learning a foreign language," Natalie admitted. "It's the language of power and money." Theodore studied her thoughtfully. "You're learning it faster than most people born to it." The ex-fiancé returns Wednesday brought unexpected drama when Vivian Ashworth appeared in the office without an appointment, sweeping past Natalie's desk like she owned the place. "I need to speak with Theodore immediately," she announced. Natalie, remembering Victoria's warnings about unauthorized visitors, stood her ground. "I'm sorry, but Mr. Blackstone is in a meeting. I'd be happy to schedule an appointment." Vivian's perfectly sculpted eyebrows arched dangerously. "Do you know who I am?" "I don't need appointments." The confrontation drew Theodore from his office, his face thunderous. "Vivian, you know better than to show up here unannounced." "Dangerous games, I came to warn you," Vivian said, her voice dripping with false concern. "People are talking, Theodore, about you and your little coffee girl. It's affecting your reputation, and by extension, mine. Our families have been friends for generations." Theodore's jaw tightened. "Our engagement ended 2 years ago. My reputation is no longer your concern." Vivian's mask slipped, revealing the calculating woman beneath. "Break it off with her, or I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of woman you're slumming with. I have photos from the museum, Theodore. Close-up shots of your kiss. The headlines write themselves." Threat revealed. After Vivian left, Theodore called Natalie into his office. His usual composure was cracked, revealing the storm beneath. "She means it," he said, without preamble. "Vivian has connections at every major newspaper and gossip magazine in the city. She can make your life hell with a single phone call." Natalie felt the familiar sensation of her world tilting off its axis. "So what are you saying?" Theodore ran his hands through his hair, a gesture so human it made her heart ache. "I'm saying maybe this was a mistake. Maybe I should have left you alone." After the text messages, fighting back, "Don't you dare," Natalie said, surprising them both with the steel in her voice. "Don't you dare let her win by making our choices for us. I've spent my whole life letting other people decide what I deserve. Tyler decided I wasn't worth being faithful to. My parents decided I wasn't smart enough for college. Not letting some spoiled socialite decide whether I'm good enough for you." Theodore stared at her, something shifting in his expression. "You could lose everything," he warned. "Your job, your reputation, your peace of mind." Natalie stepped closer. "Then I guess we better make sure she doesn't win." "The plan, what exactly are you proposing?" Theodore asked, though the slight smile playing at his lips suggested he already knew. "I'm proposing we give her something to really worry about," Natalie said. "Make this relationship real, public, undeniable. Let her do her worst. We'll face it together." Theodore moved around his desk, closing the distance between them. "You have no idea what you're getting into. My world doesn't forgive weakness. And they'll see you as exactly that, until you prove otherwise." Natalie reached up and straightened his tie, a gesture both intimate and defiant. "Then I guess I'll have to prove otherwise. At the point of no return, there's something else you should." "No," Theodore said quietly. I haven't been entirely honest about why I hired you. Natalie's heart skipped. What do you mean? He cupped her face gently in his hands. I hired you because from the moment I read those angry, passionate, brutally honest messages, I knew you were different. I hired you because you saw right through the money and the power to the man underneath. I hired you because I was already falling in love with you before we ever met. The admission hung between them like a bridge they could either cross or burn. Natalie made her choice, standing on her toes to kiss him with all the passion and defiance she felt. Then let's give them something worth talking about, she whispered against his lips. Outside, storm clouds gathered over the city, but inside Theodore's office, two people prepared to weather any storm together. The storm breaks Friday morning brought the storm Vivian had promised. The headlines screamed from every newsstand: Billionaire's barista, Theodore; Blackstone's shocking romance with coffee shop girl. The accompanying photos from the museum gala were intimate and damning. Theodore's hand on Natalie's back, their dance, the kiss that had sealed their fate. Natalie's phone buzzed incessantly with calls from reporters, old acquaintances and strangers who somehow found her number. She sat in Theodore's office, watching him pace like a caged panther while his lawyers strategized damage control. The price of love, sir? The board is requesting an emergency meeting, Victoria announced, her usual warmth replaced by professional concern. Theodore's investors were nervous. Stock prices fluctuated with every salacious headline. Made 3 major deals hung in the balance as partners questioned his judgment. Maybe they're right, Natalie said quietly. Maybe I am bad for your business. Theodore stopped pacing and turned to her with fierce intensity. Don't let them make you believe you're anything less than extraordinary. This isn't about business, it's about control. They want to decide who I love, how I live, what I deserve. Standing together, the board meeting was a battlefield disguised as a conference room. 12 men in expensive suits sat around a mahogany table, their disapproval hanging in the air like smoke. Theodore, we've been friends with your family for decades, spoke Harrison Wells, the board chairman. This situation requires careful handling. Perhaps it would be best if Miss Rivers stepped back until the publicity dies down. Theodore's voice was deadly calm. Miss Rivers is the best assistant I've ever had. She's also the woman I love. Either of those facts are up for discussion. The ultimatum, then, perhaps your position as CEO is, Wells replied coolly. The room fell silent. Natalie felt her blood turn to ice. They were threatening to remove Theodore from his own company because of her. You have 48 hours to make a choice, another board member added. End this inappropriate relationship, or we'll call for a vote of no confidence. Theodore stood, his 6-foot frame commanding even in this room of powerful men. Gentlemen, I built this company from nothing while you sat on your inherited wealth. If you think you can run it without me, you're welcome to try. But I won't be blackmailed into abandoning the woman I love. The media circus outside the building. Reporters swarmed like hungry wolves. Natalie couldn't return to her apartment. Photographers camped outside her door. Theodore brought her to his penthouse, a stunning space 50 floors above the chaos below. I'm so sorry, she whispered. Staring out at the city lights, I've ruined everything for you. Theodore pulled her into his arms. You've given me everything. For 32 years, I built walls around my heart. You tore them down with 43 angry text messages and a smile that makes me believe in magic again. The final gambit Saturday brought an unexpected call. Vivian Ashworth requested a private meeting, just the 3 of them. They met at an upscale restaurant where Vivian waited like a spider in her web. I have a proposition, she began without preamble. I'll call off the media dogs, make this whole scandal disappear. All I want in return is one thing. She looked directly at Natalie. We'll walk away, leave Theodore to someone who actually belongs. In his world, the offer hung between them like poison. And if I refuse? Natalie asked. Vivian smiled coldly. Then I'll destroy not just you, but everyone you care about. Your friend Zoe's little art gallery? Her loans come from my family's bank. One phone call, and she's ruined. The strength to choose, Natalie felt the weight of everyone she loved balanced on her shoulders. Wow. Zoe, who had supported her through every heartbreak. Her parents, who would be devastated by the scandal. even the regular customers at the coffee shop who treated her like family. You have until midnight to decide, Vivian said, standing gracefully. Choose carefully. Some prices are too high to pay for love. After she left, Theodore reached for Natalie's hands. Whatever you decide, I'll understand. I won't let you sacrifice everything for me. But Natalie had already made her choice. Love conquers all. At 11:58 p.m., Natalie called Vivian. I have an answer, she said clearly. Go to hell. She hung up and turned to Theodore, who was watching her with amazement and love. Are you sure? He asked. Because there's no going back from this. Natalie smiled, finally understanding what real love meant. I spent my whole life playing it safe, making myself smaller so others would be comfortable. I'm done with that. If loving you means facing the world's worst, then bring it on. We'll face it together. The New Beginning Monday brought new headlines. Love wins. Blackstone defies board, chooses heart over fortune. But something unexpected happened. Public opinion began to shift. Social media buzzed with support for their love story. Women especially rallied behind Natalie, seeing their own dreams reflected in her courage. 3 board members resigned rather than support Theodore, but 5 new investors stepped forward, inspired by his authenticity. The coffee shop where Natalie used to work started selling Billionaire's blend coffee, donating proceeds to women's entrepreneurship programs. Forever after 6 months later, Natalie stood in the same museum where they'd had their first real kiss, now wearing a wedding dress that made her feel like a princess. Theodore waited at the altar, his eyes shining with tears of joy. The guest list included billionaires and baristas, socialites and coffee shop regulars. As they exchanged vows, Natalie thought about that drunken night when she'd sent angry messages to a stranger. Sometimes the best things in life come from our worst mistakes. Sometimes love finds us in the most unexpected ways. And sometimes a wrong number becomes the right call after all. In Theodore's arms, surrounded by everyone who mattered, Natalie knew she'd found her happily ever after, not because it was perfect, but because it was real, hard-fought, and completely, impossibly, beautifully theirs.